Billions dream of the American dream, which is traditionally given to everybody on the earth today. It says that regardless of your background, once you are in America, you can achieve success, upward mobility, if you engage in hard work and determination. It often includes owning a home, securing a good job, ensuring a better future for your children, having a car, and perhaps good food. But the real reality is that this economic mobility has become increasingly difficult. Studies have shown that income inequality in the United States has grown sharply, with the wealth gap widening between the richest and the poorest Americans. We want to ask you to subscribe to our channel, to send us an email on john@marfado.com, to like our videos, to share, and to tap that reminder bell. Let us look at 10 biggest American lies you must know. They range all over from the Apollo moon landings, weapons of mass destruction that were supposedly found in Iraq but were not there, the promotion of democracy abroad, all the issues of the wars on terror, climate change leadership, historical narratives that involve Africans, African Americans, and indigenous people in the Americans. The American dream that we have introduced: all men and women are created equal, but they were African slaves at that time when it was written, and the inherently superior ideology of the Judeo-Christian philosophy that has been promoted. It is very clear that these 10 biggest American lies are not the only ones. Let's be honest, America is a war-mongering nation. It has engaged in many wars since it was founded. And also, when it comes to the Declaration of Independence signed by the American founding fathers, 34 out of the 47 men were all slaveholders. Deadly hypocrisy in our side. A major lie that the United States wants to keep alive for ego purposes is that men walked on the moon. A white man walked on the moon. A European walked on the moon with Apollo moon landings. It is clear if you watch our video, moon landings, what do you think? That there is a lot of gray areas. This is one of the greatest deceptions in the history of the world, and no human being, as far as we know today, has ever walked on the moon. There are also the matters of historical and foundational claims, which are lies, and the issue that America is the land of freedom and democracy, which is a lie, and that the United States promotes peace and stability all over the earth, which is a lie. At the time of the founding of the nation, the principles were starkly contradicted because of the issue of the existence of slavery. Whereas the United States Constitution included the 3/5 compromise, which counted enslaved individuals as 3/5 of a person for legislative purposes and representation and taxation, there was an idea that the melanin dominant human being is not a human being at all. So racial inequality and dehumanization occurred right at its inception. It's still inherently there in the United States of America. It continues even after the civil rights movement. It continued even after the abolition of slavery. Systematic racism and desegregation continued through the Jim Crow laws, disenfranchising a lot of melanin dominant human beings, and it's still an ongoing issue today. So the myth of equality overlooks these deeper rooted issues and the continued struggle for civil rights, equal rights, and human rights in America. There's also massive poverty that comes from these inequalities. The United States of America claims that it is a nation that is the bastion of freedom and democracy because it boasts that the founding fathers and its historical origins has to be involved and give out peace and democracy to the other nations. But unfortunately, its historical track record is of bloody interventions and rarely promote peace and stability globally. You can also watch and listen to the statement that was uttered by a former president of the United States, Eisenhower, about the military industrial complex, which creates wars in America and wars all over the earth. Since its declaration of independence, America has caused more wars than any other nation known today. So the idea that the United States promotes peace and stability worldwide is a fallacy, is a big lie. We look at human rights and social justice. The lie is that the United States is a melting pot where all cultures are embraced. This falls off due to its systematic inequalities that we have related already. Because race, class, and education hinder equal opportunities for all citizens. Each of these points are supported by inherently crafted policies that are so sly, subtle, and smartly crafted to such a point that they are like a national guard, a national security, and protect strategic interests of certain groups. It's also a class society, actually, because the control is done so nicely, so smartly, you can never think of it. And when people want to migrate and move to the United States, attain citizenship, they are not aware of the underlying motives and the adverse goals that were set against them. It is very critical and very important that we understand all this. When it comes to the issue of economics, money and finance, we are told that the United States economy is the strongest and the most resilient in the whole world. This is a big lie. And then they say there is minimal government intervention, and we think, yes, that's it, free market economy. In reality, the United States economy involves significantly a lot of government intervention, which include subsidies to specific companies, to specific sectors, bailouts to banks, and regulations that favors certain groups. The myth of a purely free market driven system in America was used to justify and is used to justify policies that favor the wealth and the corporations while overlooking the role of individuals and the masses. Because there are no social safety nets and the regulations to protect consumers and workers do not really exist. In fact, the Federal Reserve is a system that is privately owned. Here is what McFadden Lewis Thomas said. Some people think the Federal Reserve banks are United States government institutions. They are private credit monopolies which prey upon the people of the United States for the benefit of themselves and their foreign customers. So if you want, you can go and watch this video, how the Federal Reserve works and who really owns it. When it comes to the founding of the United States, one biggest American lie you must know is one where they gloss over the historical narrative of how they treated the Native American. It is the extent of atrocities that they committed against Native American populations, including genocide, land theft, and cultural erasure and indigenous Americans, and imprisoned them into native or reserves or camps. So this is a lie. They never admit to doing that. They admit in a passive way, but it's not honest and earnest. When you look at healthcare and education, you are told that the United States is the best healthcare system in the world. It doesn't have the best healthcare system in the world. Its healthcare is too expensive, too extreme, and above all, impossible to the masses. It is fed with exhausting jumble of private insurance, public programs, and the government stopgaps that are grossly inadequate. It ranks out of the top 10 of the world. When it comes to education, it has declined. There is no proper, honesty, fantastic education in America. Because perhaps when John D. Rockefeller says he doesn't want a nation of thinkers but want a nation of workers, that was his program. It's very clear that there is evidence of a deteriorating U.S. educational system which is in decline continuously. When you look at the OECD member nations in terms of mathematics, reading, and science, America doesn't rank anywhere. It ranks number 17th in reading, number 25 in maths. So fundamentally, these are poor outcomes of policies that have been pursued in America, that are still being pursued today. It's a broken system. So it's a big lie to think that the educational system in America is the best. It could be the best if the people that are looking for it are coming from countries that have a lot of competition in terms of education. Another big lie is whereby they don't portray the actual indigenous American. We are showing the Native American here was a melanin dominant human being, a Muntu, a Bantu. Of course, some of the same people that look like the ones we are showing here who refuse and say they're not Bantus, but they are Bantus. By Bantu, we mean melanin dominant human beings. So let's look at one more lie before we come to our conclusion. It is the issue of the Constitution. We are told that it is the best constitution in the world, the American Constitution. Many people go to America to study it, to learn it, and go back to their countries boasting about it. Whilst it is fair that it is perhaps a better constitution, it is not the best. It says that a melanin dominant being is 3/5 of a man, 3/5 of a person, and it was done only for taxation and representational purposes only. And then there was the fugitive slave clause, Article 4, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution, known as the fugitive slave clause, which required that escaped slaves were to be brought and returned to their owners. Even the word slavery was deliberately avoided in the Constitution, reflecting the contradictions that were already inherent there. So it is a sad scenario, really, to think that the American Constitution is the best. We come to one of the most interesting aspects, which is the principle that we are told that America is a Christian nation. And in 1955, on July 11, Congress passed H.R. 619, which mandated the phraseology "in God we trust," that it must be included on all U.S. currencies. So from that principle, you would think that this is the truth, but this is the United States' biggest religious lie. Let's continue on this issue of religion, the Anglo-Israelism. This is the idea that the United States and Britain and other European countries are members of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. This was promoted by a number of organizations, a number of churches, and a number of individuals like Herbert W. Armstrong, who wrote the book The United States and Britain in Prophecy. This doctrine often includes the tenet and the idea that the British royal family is directly descended from the line of King David. Let's look at this and ask the question, is this true? Is America a Christian nation? The answer comes from the founding fathers, who were not Christians but who were all free Masons, including George Washington. And even Thomas Jefferson says Christianity is neither or nor ever was a part of the common law. And they say Christianity is the most perverted system that ever done on men. All the founding fathers never liked Christianity. Why? Because they were Freemason. So the idea that United States is God's own country is one of the big lies. But when you want to find who owns America, all you need to do is simply ask who gives it money, who owns its debts. We are clear, we know who owns that. These are the same Freemasons. They own the Federal Reserve and many other systems, many other secret societies, of course. These 10 major lies told by the United States creates a complex geopolitical and social structure in which we are forced to rediscover and maintain our own Bantu melanin dominant identity as the source of our power. And then we continue to reverence and honor our ancestors and worship them gods, not the God we trust in America. So at the end of the day, you must also be bound to understand our own melanin dominant mystic system and our war fetish, warfare protection systems that were expansion that have been removed from us. That will save us from all the other big lies that the Americans teach. Yes, thank you very much. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Hamid Ibru Ethics. And if you are interested in working and walking with us, you can send us an email on john@marfado.com. Your manager, Topi by LM says, beware of the 10 major American lies and many others. Thank you very much. Ameni. Tatenda, Siabonga, Enkos, Slangani Pambili.